My mother abandoned me and my brother when I was 3 and my brother was 5. I didn't see her again except for a disastrous visit when I was 7 of 2 or 3 months when her boyfriend raped me. At 13, I went back to her. I didn't understand her. She didn't act anything like my grandmother. My grandmother was patient, kind, spoke slowly. Vivian Baxter spoke fast and she wiggled all the time. And she kept records on and songs and music, and she wore lipstick and she danced. And I just couldn't get it. So I refused to call her mother. I called her lady. And she accepted that.
Many people couldn't overcome that initial abandonment. That would have been something impossible to overcome. What allowed you to overcome that and establish a relationship?
She loved me. And she said I really wasn't ready to be a parent. Then I realized there are some people who are great parents of small people. My mother was just the opposite. And then I saw she was very kind to people who maybe needed someone to be kind.
What are some of the universal elements that you have drawn from that relationship, the mother-daughter relationship?
I learned that love heals. Not sentimentality, but love. And her love healed me.
Your mother grew up in very different times.
Yes.
What would she make of an African-American being in the White House?
She, I think, would have thought it should have been her.
Dr. Maya Angelou.
Martin Luther King told me that he expected there to be a black president in 40 years. It was 40 years ago. I didn't. I thought I'd be long dead before that happens. But my mother was that hopeful. I'm myself positive and an optimist, but I wouldn't have gone there. How did I, born black, in a white country, poor, in a society where wealth is adored and sought after at all costs, female in an environment where only large ships and some engines are described favorably by using the female pronoun, how did I get to be Maya Angelou?
What are some of the lessons to take away from this book?
Exercise patience with yourself first, so you can forgive yourself for all the dumb things you do. And once you do, you can learn from that so you don't have to repeat them. And then exercise patience with your children, please. I pray that someone will hear that in this book and learn to be a little kinder.
If you need follow-up information about what Uncensored Truth is and who I am, just follow along on my last 2 videos, and that should speed you up to who I am and why I do what I'm doing. But this thing I want us to resort back to is the homework that I left for you in your last video. But I'm not the type of teacher that would give work to you and I not do some work myself, because I think that it's my job as a teacher and as an advocate to share from my own experiences as it relates to interacting with your children and interacting with parents and some of the struggles that your kids may face on a daily basis and you may face on a weekly and a daily basis with your child as it relates to you guys relating and connecting. If you can see behind me, this beautiful auditorium puts on display everything that drives my passion. Everything that drives my passion to see the 25 to 40-year-old group that's having children right now, to see reformation and change according to the standard of God, established in the way we parent and the way we equip and get the next wave of children ready for this world that is relentless, this world that will not show any mercy to them, but also get them ready to carry out the purposes according to God's plan for them. In Jeremiah 29:11, the Bible states that God knows the plans that he has for us, plans to prosper us and give us a hope in the future. And that includes you, parents. That includes you. a purpose and a plan that God has for you. And it also includes your child. You know, when I was a child, I would come home from school, and one day I had a real conversation with my mom. And I asked my mother, I said, Mom, what do you want to be? You know, my mom was a single parent of 8, taking care of 8 children. And I said to myself, wow, this got to be boring. All she does is work and come home and cook and clean and, well, she cooks and cleans. We had our chores as well. But I said, Mom, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? You know, I couldn't say, what do you want to be when you grow up, because she was already grown. But she says, what are you talking about, son? What do I want to be? I said, didn't you want to be more than just a mother? You know, did you want to be a career woman? Did you want to have, a major job in a company? She told me, and this was profound. She said, son, I am doing what I was created to do. I've always wanted to be a parent. And I know some parents didn't want to be parents. You feel like your child was an interruption in your life. But the profound thing was, my mother told me that she wanted to be a mother. That's what she believed she was called to. Now, whether you believe you were called to be a parent or not, the fact that you have a child means that that's part of what God chose for you. He chose, and he saw enough in you. He believed in you. No child is an accident. No matter how you and your husband hooked up, no matter how you and your boyfriend hooked up, your child was not an accident. It wasn't a hole in the condom. It wasn't, we wasn't thinking. Jeremiah 29:11 said God knows the thoughts he has toward us. And in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, it says, before we were formed in our mother's womb, God knew us and ordained us to be something. And so I'm speaking right now to parents who had their child at a young age, and that child became an interruption in your life. On top of whatever you worked on, if you followed my instructions from the last video, you topple with your own struggles and situations a child at 19, a baby at 20, 21, 22, when you're trying to get your career up and going. That causes problems. It causes a little bit of resentment, anger, frustration, and I know that it's present in your life. And when I say your life, listen, if the shoe fits, then wear it. If what I'm saying don't relate to you specifically, then don't take it personal. I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking to that parent who saw your child as an interruption, and that affects how you and your child relates on a day-to-day basis. That affects how you connected with your child as you grew and as the child grew. And even now, it's affecting you. Now, I also want the 25 to 40-year-olds who just starting out. You have a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old, or you're pregnant, you're expecting. I want you to understand is that we have to see children as a predestined, ordained thing from God, a purposeful thing. And we can't harbor bitterness or frustration because their plan of coming didn't line up with our plans for what we wanted to do with our life. Because if we don't do that, and if you don't do that, your child will feel that rejection. That your child will feel that resistance, and that will affect your child's relationship and connectivity with you. And so I just wanted to touch on that because that's one of the things that we have to focus on. And as a coach and as a family advocate, I want to get you as a parent to focus on. And that is, how did your child coming into your life affect you? Because that has a part to play in how you and that child interacts. I deal with so many children every day and so many young adults and young professionals who felt rejected by their parents. And because of that, they harbored anger and unforgiveness and resentment. I have one kid that I will always share her story. Her name was Hawa Gabadon. When I was working in an alternative school in North Carolina, I met this young lady. She was boisterous. She was angry. She had grown up in the foster care system. At a very young age, as a little baby, her parents gave her up. And she felt rejected from birth as a child. And she carried that anger and that rejection and that lack of acceptance and that lack of connectivity with her parents. She carried it all the way. That's just the bell ringing. My kids, your children are coming in. She carried that with her all the way until she got into the 9th grade. And through several abuse and situations that happened to her in foster care, she ended up in a relationship with a young man who didn't really mean her any good. He only wanted her for sex. She ended up being pregnant, and she thought that getting pregnant was going to give her a chance to really get loved by someone who really wanted to be with her. In the midst of it all, when she found out she was pregnant, she presented it to her boyfriend, and out of anger and rejection, he rejected her. She had an outburst of anger because here she is rejected again, and the guy pulled the gun out and shot her right in the head and killed her. Left her in the park, looking up at the sky, eyes wide open. But that possibly could have been avoided had a parent taken responsibility for their responsibility. And you may say, Pastor Little, you're being a little strong, but children need leadership, and that leadership must come from you. This is Pastor Little. I'll be back in just a second. You know, there was a case that just took place in South Florida. It's all over the news. We had 17 precious young men and women that were gunned down by another young man who had a troubled past. He had some things going on in his personal life, and his family life was off. And see, every day these type of things are continuing to occur over and over and over again, which points me back to this conversation. Can't you see and realize that this is a conversation that needs to be had in reference to us as the next wave of parents that'll be giving leadership to children for the next 2 to 3 decades, if God blesses us all to live to see that. And we have children right now, young children, and even those children that are 10 and 11 years old, they need leadership in their life. And not just leadership to buy food for them and to feed them, but they need leadership in their life to guide them and to direct them and to demonstrate things before them so that they'll know how to handle adversity when it comes. And that's why, Mom, Dad, that's why you are so important. That's why your well-being and you taking that inward look to kind of see where you stand and what you need to work on and where you have dropped the ball or where you need to step your game up even greater. Because there are some great parents that may watch this video. There are great parents all over this nation and world that you're doing the very best you can. You're doing all you can to connect and to make a connection with your child. And things still go awry. So I'm not calling out every parent and saying every problem that happens is because you're a bad parent. But like I said in my last video, if the shoe fits, then wear it. I want every one of you who are parents to examine yourself. I really hope that you took the homework assignment that I gave really, really serious, because I'm here to just kind of give you some tidbits and some pointers in reference to self-evaluation. I can't be a parent. I can't be you. But what I can do is challenge you to be the best you can be. And I challenge you to shoot me some comments. I would like to hear from you. Questions, any questions that you may have to throw at me that I may be able to assist in any way with you and your child's connection. I work with them. As you see, I work with your children every single day, and that gives me some inroads to some things that maybe I can share with you that might help improve that relationship. But parents, it's vitally important that you take some time to examine how and what you do. And like I said, are you healed? Are you taking time out to talk to your children? Are you taking time to listen to your children? Are you doing all you can to get into your child's life? Are you doing everything that you can do? I know you may have been a parent that didn't have that kind of relationship with your parents. So it's difficult for you to make that connection with your child. Let your child be the first in your bloodline to see something different. And it's all right. It's all right if it's been a rocky road for you. Every day is a new day for you to start over fresh. And I'm telling you, it is a powerful word to say, I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? Can we start over again? You know, I just had a student today. I just found out that one of my students' mother was ran over by a semi-truck. 2 days ago, she was ran over by a semi-truck. And the young lady said it didn't even bother her because she didn't have a relationship with her. She cried for a few minutes, and then she said, I'm over it. She's not my real mom anyway. She's making reference to her stepmom. My heart dropped because I said to myself, and I said to her friends that were sitting around, I said, it doesn't matter how bad you may have felt you had it. I think your mom deserves respect. But she didn't think so because she put high premium on personal time spent. See, guys, every day I have these kind of stories happening around me. And that's why I'm reaching out to you. That's why I'm trying to encourage you as parents for us to reconsider how we're doing it. Because it's not enough for us to let the TV and let social media and let cultural trends guide our children. The children of today and tomorrow need you. So I know you just got off work or you're just getting up in the morning. Make some time today to sit down and talk with your child. Let your child know you love them. And admit that you were wrong in any way that you know you were wrong. Admit and acknowledge to them that you're going to try to do better, because this day can be a new beginning for you, and it could be the start of you developing your child's trust. I'm going to talk more about trust with you in my next video. But I just think with all that's going on in society today, I just want to get on to drop a few words of wisdom to you and just challenge you to go and sit down and talk with your child. Let them know you love them.